How many times have we heard that big is bad? From the old folk tales of the big bad wolf or big bad John in the old songs. They all suggested that big and bad go together synonymously. They do not. That is something we've merely created in our own mind to keep us playing small. In fact, big is bad is a lie, and quite possibly the worst lie of all. For if you fear your success, you fear that big goal, you're either going to avoid it or sabotage your efforts to achieve it. How often have we done that? How often have we shrunk in the face of something big? You know, when you mention a big an achievement together, most people's first thoughts are how hard it is, how complicated it's going to be, how time consuming it will be. And you're uncertain of that right to achieve that big goal because you're fearful of what might happen if you try and you fall short. In fact, your head often spins just thinking about it. But mention big with achievement, and where does the story go? What do you start instantly telling yourself? Do you tell yourself how difficult and complex it's going to be, how overwhelmed and intimidated you're going to be, or how it might rob you of your time with your family, your friends, or even your health? When big is believed to be bad, small thinking starts to rule the day, and big never sees the light of it. And that's why this is flat out wrong. You see, historically, we've done a remarkably poor job of estimating our limits. But the good news is that it's not about just guessing what we can accomplish, but rather it's the art of progressing one step further each and every day. With the old analogy of how do you eat an elephant? It's you eat it one bite at a time. If you think about how overwhelming it is to eat the whole thing at once, you almost make yourself sick about it just thinking about it. But when you think about just one step at a time, and you look at the process of accomplishing the goal, it's no longer making you uneasy, causing you to be in a state of dis-ease. You're no longer triggering that shrinking thinking that often comes with seeing a big goal, or lowering your trajectory to feel safe, because the process is the process. And that's what it's all about. One step forward each and every day. See, big opportunities are all about progress. They make us stretch and grow so that we can keep moving forward on our journey. That is what life is about. You see, none of us know our limits. Nobody knows how great our achievements can really be. We often determine those ceilings for our achievement based off of what we believe is possible. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we limit what we're actually able to accomplish? Why would you want to limit yourself, to hold yourself back? See, in this context, when you allow yourself to accept that big is about who you can become, you look at it differently. You see that you can set the ceiling for your achievement. And here's kind of the great part about it. When you hit that ceiling, you just set another one. And then you set another one. And you keep moving forward through each of those ceilings. See, bold ideas like this might threaten our comfort zones, but they're your greatest opportunities for growth. When you're uncomfortable, that's when you can grow the most. You see, thinking big is required for extraordinary results. And when you believe in that big, it frees you to ask different questions, to follow different paths, and try new things. This opens up all the doors of possibilities that you used to keep shut by staying small. That is what big gets you. See, when you think big, you see the picture and then you have to take action. That action requires your thoughts. And you drive your thoughts with the picture of the movie that you want to run. Do you see yourself at the top of that mountain, or do you see yourself at the bottom looking up, wondering how you're going to get there? That simple difference between the two pictures allows us to act quickly or leaves us in a state of dis-ease. You see, only actions that become actionable springboard us to success. And they're all informed by that big thinking that we started with, seeing ourselves achieving our goal, knowing that we can actually determine where we want to go. You see, what do you think about big? Because what you do in the time you work determines what you achieve. So how often when we're working, when we're practicing, when we're trying to achieve something, whether it's a hobby at home or a new project at work or something new on the court or the field, how often are you fully engaged, going all out, going as big as you can for that new? You see, since what you do is determined by what you think, how big you think becomes a launching pad for how high you will achieve. So if you picture a rocket that's launching for the stars, that launching pad has to have a lot of thought that goes into it to give it the maximum propulsion for that rocket to succeed. And that's what we mean by every level of achievement requires its own combination of what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with. You see, where we get in trouble a lot is that this combination of what, how, and who that gets us to one level, to one ceiling. It most often won't evolve to a better combination that will lead us to that next level of success. That's that comfort zone that we're so often with. Oh, I'm comfortable around these people, but I have to stretch and I'm uncomfortable when I get up around these next group of business people, these people that are more successful than me. And that's just a fallacy that we tell ourselves. You see, you think as big as you possibly can, and you build that base off of what you know you can do, how you do it, and who you do it with. And you build that foundation at each level. Like a skyscraper, you set the foundation. Now, do the guys that built that foundation are the same guys putting the windows on the second floor or the 10th floor or all of that part? No, they're not. And that's what we're talking about right here. And you can see here in our illustration, that what, how, and who that got us the small box at the bottom, that small outcome, is not the same for that big outcome that we're looking for. Your first mentors, your first coaches that got you started are not going to be the ones that help you break through that $200,000 mark, or that $500,000 mark, or that 7-figure mark. Each one of those is going to have to shift. And if you set your box big enough, it may take you an entire lifetime to run into the walls of that box. Who out there wouldn't like to have that problem instead of feeling constricted by the small comfort zone that we've created? You see, our mindset really is that driving force in the quest for success and achievement. That mindset is a combination of our discipline, our strength, our confidence, our ambition. And when you mold those together, and when they're all big enough, then we can set extraordinary results for ourselves. Arthur Guinness, when he first started his first brewery, signed a 9,000-year lease because he believed in his brewery that much. He knew he had to set it big so that he would dream big and accomplish big. And if you've ever enjoyed a Guinness, you understand what he did. J.K. Rowling, with the Harry Potter series, never started the first book until she had all 7 years thought out. She saw it as that big of a sequence. Sam Walton with Walmart envisioned a business that was so big, he felt he needed to set up an estate plan to minimize the inheritance taxes for his family. What if we all thought that big before we ever started something? What if we dreamt that much and believed in ourselves that much? What would we accomplish? And who would you accomplish it with? And it all comes back to kind of asking big questions about yourself. Would you rather shoot for the stars, and even if you miss, you still land on the moon? Or do you want to shoot for the moon and end up back on Earth, back where you started from? You see, on the journey to big, you will grow. You will get bigger. Big requires you to grow. You will grow your thinking, your skills, your relationship, the sense of what is possible for you, and a sense of what it takes to actually grow and become more. You see, growth and shooting for that big goal is not always about achieving that big goal. If you shoot a rocket for the moon where it's at right now, that rocket will never get to the moon. And you may ask why. Well, that rocket has to fail its way to the moon. It literally course corrects constantly because the moon is in motion. The earth is in motion. The entire universe is in motion. It's in flux. It's not just standing still. So that rocket's constantly recalculating its way and its trajectory to the moon. And you have to do that same thing when you think big. And that's what it really takes to achieve those big goals. And when you start doing that, you're going to see that your self-conceptions influence our actions. Do you have that growth mindset that can adjust and make corrections all the way there? Or are you fixed on this is my path, this is what I have to do every step of the way? You can see the difference between the two and see the difference of what is possible. When you set your mind to it, the right mindset comes along. Because being big means you're pursuing your greatest life you can possibly live. And it's not selfish to be big. It's actually the best for everybody in your life for you to be as big as possible, because you're setting new standards for them to come along in. Big stands for greatness, for extraordinary results. To live great, you have to think big. You must be open to the possibility that your life and what you accomplish can become great. Achievement and abundance show up because they're the natural outcomes of doing the right things with no limits attached. You see, we shouldn't fear big. We should fear mediocrity. We should fear waste and the fear of lack of not living to our fullest. And most often, when we're feeling stuck and unpassionate about our lives, where we're overwhelmed and depressed and just, we all know that feeling. That's most often when we're running from that big life, when we're scared to take that next step to get us out of our comfort zone. You either run towards lesser outcomes and opportunities, or you're running away from the big ones when you most feel that frustration. And it's just courage to move past that shrinking thinking. Only living big will you get to experience your true life and your potential. Living big will give you the most fulfillment and enjoyment in your life, and you'll be the best version of you that you can be for your family, for your friends, for your career, for God. That's a totally different mindset from staying comfortable and small. You see, again, thinking big, it's about avoiding that incremental thinking that asks us, what do I do next? That is, at best, the slow lane to success. And usually it's the off-ramp to get you away from the big ideas. You need to ask bigger questions. See how you can double down on your life and set a goal that's so far above what you want that you're building a plan to really get there. That you'll blow past that small goal that you first had because you're on a path, a different trajectory for your life. You know, and do you want to order from the menu, or do you want to choose different options, different outcomes that no one else has even thought of? You know, do you want to follow the crowd, or do you want to be the trailblazer? You see, people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the only ones that ever do. I'd like you to act bold, ask bigger questions, and a pause to imagine what that life would look like with that answer to that question. Big thoughts can't go anywhere without bold action. Once you've asked the big question, take the steps that come to mind. That's your intuition telling you to go ahead and act, that you're on the right path. And what models, systems, habits, relationships from other people can you look at for the answer? What consistently worked for others will almost always work for you. So if you want to be the greatest basketball player out there, are you going to model Michael Jordan? Or are you going to model somebody that never got past 9th grade basketball? That's the difference between the two. And lastly, don't fear failure. Every day, we are learning new ways, different ways. We're adopting a growth mindset to fail your way to success. Ask questions and learn from every setback. Because when you learn, you're literally picking up a nugget, a golden nugget of truth that you can keep adding to your stockpile. Those nuggets add up over time and they keep you moving forward. Just like that rocket that fails its way to the moon, you can do the same thing to your big goals. You can have the best laid plans to build a skyscraper written out and drawn up on paper. But when you actually go out there and implement it in the field, you're going to have to make adjustments. You may have different materials in the earth that you didn't account for, that you have to adjust the foundation for. Maybe some other things failed. You had to adjust the electrical plan, the plumbing plan. All these have to be constantly taken into consideration while you continue to build that next floor. You're always making adjustments in your lives. So we can't afford to let that small thinking cut us down to size. Think big, aim for the stars, and act bold. And no matter what happens, if you do those, you'll be able to look back on your life, know that what you did was the best you could do. That's when you'll have happiness, fulfillment, excitement in your life each and every day. And you'll look back on it with joy and pride, knowing that you were the best lover, the best parent, the best protector, the best worker, the best whatever that you needed to be each and every day of your life. You lived big. You lived an extraordinary life. And that's what we're all seeking. So I'd like to take you all, just thank you for joining us today and taking this journey with us, because we all want to live that big life, that extraordinary life that will change our worlds. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this, drop us a DM and let us know how we can help you. Have a great day.